It's May the 20th, 1996. We're having a get-together with MaryBriggs and going to interview her about her life. Present in the room, my brother, I'm John Briggs. Don is here, Robert Briggs, and my son Colin, whose voices you may hear. We'd like Mum to speak about her early times to begin with, what she remembers of family discussions about the prairies.
Where you were born?
Where were you born, Mum?
Bratton.
In Bratton.
What year?
1913.
1913.
And as I understand it, the birth was with a midwife. Who was the midwife?
Mrs. Rock.
Okay. That was a neighbor lady, was it?
Sit down for a moment.
1913 was just prior to the war.
But John, you're on the bird. Tell him what date was. What was happening?
Last day is the last prairie fire.
Okay. No.
And my dad was fighting fire.
Do you know about prairie fires yourself? How horrible they were, or just through stories?
That was the last one anyway.
Did your dad tell you about the fire in later discussions?
He didn't find any.
Okay.
So you were the youngest one of three children? So there was
Lily and
Waverly. And who was the oldest?
Lily.
Okay. And she was what, 8 or 9 years older than you? And Waverly was
6 years.
okay. And so when you were born, the farm was already established at Macquarie there, or
No, we were on the doll place then.
on the which place?
Doll.
Okay. Can you speak up a little bit more? The microphone's right at the bottom there. Okay. So when did you were born in 1913, and you didn't have your own farm yet? When did you guys have your own farm?
Well, I think my dad had it then, but they hadn't established it because they built a house after that.
Okay. So you had the property, but didn't have a house on the property.
I think so.
Okay. Roughly when did you move on to your own farm?
Oh, practically then.
I see.
You know, not long after that.
Okay. And how big a farm was it? Was it a quarter section? Half a section. And was it all farmland?
No, the lake was in there.
Oh, okay. So then how much land did you farm?
Well, eventually, 3/4 section.
I see. Okay. And that was all grain, was it?
Yeah.
Did you have any livestock at all?
Well, established it finally.
Did you have other relatives in the area that
Uncle Alan.
Uncle Alan was farming as well?
Yeah.
Now, would that be many miles away? Like...
Can you tell me how far that was?
Well, you were closer when you were on the golf farm. I think his farm wasn't very far from there. But the other distance, I don't remember going there once.
So do you remember your Uncle Alan?
Oh, yes.
And he farmed until his death then? Or?
No, he traveled back to eastern Canada because to help his father and mother.
Okay, can you tell us just a little bit about Uncle Colin then?
Well, maybe, first off, maybe Mom, can you tell us about your mom and dad? And then can we get into the rest of the relatives?
Okay.
Like, when did your mom and dad, who are they? What was your mom and dad's name?
Before they were married?
Yep.
Margaret Rogers Campbell.
Margaret Rogers Campbell.
Was mom.
Okay. And your dad?
Grandma.
That was your grandma.
Yeah.
What was your mom's name?
Margaret Campbell. Yeah, Margaret Campbell.
Okay. And your dad's name?
John Armstrong.
Okay, so there's Campbell on both sides of the family there. Okay, all right. When did talking about your mom and dad? Did they come to Canada from the old country, or did their parents? Did your grandfolks come to Canada from the old country?
They, Grandma and Grandpa.
Armstrong or Campbell?
It looked,
No.
No, but that's not the question. Grandma and Grandpa, is it Campbell or Armstrong you're talking about?
Who do you want me to talk
Well,
about?
one or the other. One or the other. I was wondering, when did your family get established in Canada? Your side of our family get established in Canada?
Oh, that was, they came to Hull. And that's where they had eloped to.
I see.
And they came to Hull. And they were working on farms there. And what did you ever want to know?
Well, I'm just wondering when they came to Canada. They both families came from Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was your mom and dad came over,
Yes.
and your mother was born in Canada.
No, she was born in Ireland.
She was born in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your dad, was he born in Canada?
Yes. I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he was the Armstrong. He's John Campbell Armstrong. So, and they lived in Hull.
They came to Hull and worked on a farm there and then moved to near Toronto.
I see. Okay.
and then had many children.
Okay.
What?
They had a big family.
How many brothers and sisters did?
Not so long after that. They didn't establish it right away.
No, but I mean, a large number of kids.
So
10 children.
10 children on your dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So did they sort of all come west, or some came west?
They all stayed there.
They all stayed there. So your dad was.
Both the first, no, Uncle Alan had come first. And then my dad came to him.
Okay. So then did your dad homestead? Was he a homesteader? Did he prove up a quarter, or did you buy land?
I don't know.
I think it was all in the homestead. Because he was there in 12, and so it was still homestead land there. And they came, the railroads come through about that time.
Okay. All right. John?
You might
Okay.
have to Adam.
Yep.
He was about the youngest.
My point of bringing up Uncle Alan, I have been told that Colin came from Ontario and stayed in Saskatchewan. Have you heard that? For a year or two or something before he moved west some more.
No, I don't think so. I think he came straight to Careful.
Okay. All right. Tell us about your childhood, schooling. Where'd you go to school?
In Corey.
And did you, to what grade?
Grade 12.
All right.
Grade 11, sorry. It wasn't grade 12 in Corey's school.
Okay, tell us about those days. Your sister being 8 or 9 years older, I understand she went back to Ontario with an aunt.
2 of them.
Okay. For what reason?
Secretarial course.
And did she complete the secretarial course?
I think so.
Do you remember the family, her going and?
Yeah. I remember. I was glad she went.
Tell us about that, or, you know.
How old were you when she left?
6. No, I'm glad she went. Nobody bossed me then. Waverly spoiled me rotten.
Oh, you were a favorite, were you?
Oh, Waverly was really good to me. Lily bossed me around just to see. I didn't like that very much.
So when that was when you were 6, so that's when you were starting school. How big is what, one room school sort of thing?
No, it was 2-room school always.
And you mentioned the Columbias as being your friends.
Yeah,
Was that a...
bestest friends.
Okay. They were near neighbors and...
No, they lived across the lake from. Didn't get to be friends with them until school.
Okay.
It was after we got to school.
And it was a girl, what was her name?
Clara.
Clara. Okay.
So have you kept in contact with them at all?
And she died.
When she died?
We eventually lasted, when Charles graduated,
I
we
see.
had dinner together that day.
Okay. All right. So you went to school. Did you have fun going to school? Was it a nice place to go to school?
I guess it was. But at that time, you didn't think of that it was a nice place or anything. You just lived through it.
She walked.
How far did you have to walk to school?
2 3/4 miles.
So I never heard any through 6 feet of snow and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, there were those times, but you forgot about those.
Didn't wear a hat. She had it in the stoop.
Yeah.
what's that?
Oh, Mom made me wear a hat and a scarf because it was cold. I had in school.
Oh, it wasn't the in thing. Oh, I see.
Boy, parents were tough in those days too, were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how often did you go down that slide? I remember when we were out there and I was just a kid, you took us and showed us the school with a slide on it. The fire escape?
Lord, I didn't go down tall unless I had to. I was scared of that thing.
Oh. Okay, so you went there to grade 11, and Waverly and your dad and you and your mom worked the farm, is that right?
Well, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Well, I guess I did, but I mean, I didn't feel as if I was. That was just fun part of it.
No, but,
No, but
did you have chores, chickens to do?
I suppose. I don't remember that. The part that I remember is hauling the grain and doing the combining and things like that.
Did you have pigs on the farm for your own pork? Not many.
No.
Beef. Had a beef ring.
Yeah, my dad was a butcher for beef ring.
Okay, and a beef ring would be a community get-together twice a year maybe
No,
to do beef?
no,
He butchered, and then they hung in the room. Everybody had a hook with a name on, and they'd come and get their own piece of meat. And they each had a different piece of meat each week.
I remember you talking about the 1919, the flu epidemic or whatever it is, and tell us a little bit how what your dad did and your mom and how much work that was.
Picked up chickens at the places that they went around to do chores. And there were some chickens there that they could take while they'd take them. Mom would cook them.
So
The next day, I'd take this chicken soup.
So he was, him and Waverly was doing it too, was he? They were going around helping out all the farmers that were sick
Yeah,
and couldn't physically do their chores.
that's right.
How long did that last? Was it the winter sort of thing?
I don't know. Robert probably
I think
remembers.
possibly what happened around probably a week to 2 weeks seemed to be.
Oh, it was longer than that.
Either died or got well at that time, let's put it that way.
So they sort of looked after the community then.
Mm-hmm. Well, helped.
Yeah.
Because, it'd be another man or family or something doing
Yeah.
the same thing.
Did the sickness hit your home?
No.
And his mother practically run the community hall in Victoria, I think.
So what, like you were born in 1913, what are your first memories? Like when you were 4 or 5 or 6 years old, what sticks out in your mind?
Nothing, because I don't remember anything about being little.
All right.
Not like Father, you know, he was 4 when he went to the States, so was I.
I got Howard had a call you Little Mary something on it. What was that?
Little Millie Umpton.
Who was that?
Murray's lived next to us,
Okay.
and they had boys. They'd tease me. And I was Little Millie Umpton.
So their boys would be along the age of Waverly then, would they?
Yeah.
A little older.
And a little older.
Or they could really get your goat?
Oh, sure.
Okay. But Waverly would stick up for you, right?
Oh, yes, he did.
And Janet Murray took her over buggy ride and ran away.
Yeah. Gosh, holy Dinah.
What was that?
I can still hear that poor buggy rattling around that dirt road.
What happened?
Nothing happened. She got the thing stopped. Janet Murray. She was a real horsewoman. She got it stopped.
Was she a little older than you?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit older.
And you guys were just out for a ride, were you?
No, we were going to town.
In a hurry?
In a hurry. And they had all horses that fast.
So you're going to town. Where was going to town at? Was that McCrory? Okay. The next closest town was Evelyn?
Well, yeah, but we had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Because that was across the river. That's miles away. You see.
I see.
That was no British.
So if you went with McCrory, how big was it at that time? It had a general store and that sort of stuff?
And the elevator and
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
So did you go to Saskatoon often then for...
The only time we went to Saskatoon was emergencies and stuff.
So
that was by train, was it?
Yeah.
So did McCrory have a hall as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the woman I was speaking of.
Did you go into dances there with your folks? And as I understand, in those days, small kids were just bundled up and left to sleep in the corner and have the social evenings?
And the kids that were old enough to dance and so on, they were up at dancing.
Okay. And so you started dancing at 10 years old?
There or before.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a two-piece band, a fiddle and a...
Oh no, Mrs. Calloway was on the piano. I could still see her bouncing on that piano seat. She kept time with it. But there's somebody on the TV now that bounces the same way. And it bounces in time with her.
Yeah. And who else would play?
What's his name? Oh, they lived across this lake from us.
Just tell me what he played.
And what did he play?
Well, the bagpipes.
No.
Well, like a violin, that's gone piano, the violin.
I can't remember.
So how far did you live from McCrory? Like when you went to these dances, was it half an hour, or like how long did it take you to get from home to McCrory?
Well, the 2 3/4 miles.
Oh, that all was okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But most of the dances were out in Bratton. Not most of them, a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay, and Bratton, that was just sort of a community hall, had post office and
In school.
school.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And once you got hungry, she stopped in at the grocery store.
You don't need to bring that up.
Tell us about the grocery store. It was well stocked?
You kids have never seen these big cases of cookies, tier by tier, glass doors on.
Yeah.
They're always standing, sort of about this size, standing.
Yeah.
Henderson kids and I stole cookies out of there. And the Mr. Gallup let us away with it for as long as he could stand it, I guess. And he told us that he was going to tell our parents. Boy, that sure put the stealing cookies in a hurry. We kept watching the mail, both the Henderson kids and Hank watched the mail to see whether the letter would come from Mr. Gallup.
So the community was in the early 20s, late teens, and I guess into the 20s. Were the crops pretty good in those times? Was it a fairly prosperous community?
Until the 20s.
Really.
No, I'm asking in the 20s. Was it a fairly prosperous community in the 1920s?
Yeah, fairly. You know, it wasn't down and outers,
Yeah.
but it wasn't really prosperous.
Did you have your own combine and that sort of thing?
Combines weren't there then.
So that was people. So you hired somebody to do the combining and.
Didn't do the combine.
Oh, sorry, thrashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, all right, did you stack the stooks then, and it would be thrashed later in the winter, or did you thrash out of the field?
Thrashed out of the field. It was stooped and then thrashed out of the field.
Okay. And
So you had all your own horses and all that sort of
We
thing.
had a horse-pulled combine to start with.
Okay. All right. So you're supposed to be quiet. Okay. So you went to grade 11. So that would be what, in the early 30s that you were finished grade 11.
Late
Born in
20s.
1913. Late 20s, 28 or 29,
29.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So is there anything that stands out in your mind in those sort of 10 years, like going to school and the farm and that sort of thing? Is there anything that happened that is you remember as being something?
Yeah, nearly given my mother heart attacks because I was driving the grain wagon.
What happened?
Well, we had to go up this steep thing, and she'd be waiting to hear me coming back home again, whether I'd be, in one piece or what, because going home with those horses, they really like to go home.
Oh, I see. You lit them up, did you?
Yeah.
So you drove the grain wagon then, drove the team for hauling the grain away from the thrashing machine.
was this directly to the elevator then?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, that would be in your teen years. Do you remember when it started to get dry? Was it heading into the dirty 30s? Was 29 a bad year?
I can't remember when it really stopped, being good.
Okay.
No, I can't remember.
Did it change fast, like in around McCrory there, or did it sort of take a couple of years to get worse?
Well, we had our good farmers and our bad, our not so prosperous farmers. We had those, after all, the Smiths were across this lake from us, and he was a good farmer, and boy, he stayed a good farmer.
But knew how to use the land and
Yeah.
Okay. Aunt Lily went east. When did she return from her education or work? Do you remember her coming back? She was gone for a few years, was she?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't remember any of that part because I left home to come to Cher Hill to be with Grandpa when Grandma died.
What year did you go to Cher Hill?
You go up there and look on the gravestone.
I mean, didn't you?
Was that right after you finished school?
Yeah, practically. I mean, there wasn't much. I guess there was there was the farming in between there that I helped with horses and everything.
Uh-huh.
And,
So even at that time, Aunt Lily was still in the east then, was she?
yeah, she came home sometime.
So that was right around 1930 then,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that's when you went to Cherry Hill. Aunt Lily was still in the east, and so Waverly and your mom and dad were home on the farm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long did you stay in Cherry Hill?
I stayed there and worked for years.
Okay, that was okay. You went when your grandmother was dying.
When she died.
Died. Okay. What was your grandfather's name?
Campbell.
Okay. What was his first name?
William.
William. Okay. And he was still alive then?
Oh yeah.
And so he lived with Colin then in Cherry Hill?
Yeah.
Colin was there with the, okay.
So at that point, all the children would still be home at Cherry Hill. Jean, Bruce, and Hugh.
Yeah, I looked after that.
Okay. Now, so were you there during at your grandfather's death then?
Mm-hmm. When did he die?
He died after you left. Because you were running, helping run the store and breed eggs in the store.
Yeah, but that doesn't say that he was dead then. He was running the store.
That was you were, Uncle Colin was running the store.
Yeah, that's right.
Running the store and buying and selling hay.
So, like, how long were you in Cherry Hill? Like 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, 5 years?
Well, you see, I misbehaved, and so they sent me home from Uncle Colin's.
You went back home to...
Macquarie. And then they decided that they needed me worse than my transgressions.
Oh, I see. What'd you do?
I went out too late at night.
Oh, I see. Party girl.
And,
So they were pretty strict then. What, did they treat you just like a servant, or? So when, like, how long were you back home for then? That would be right in the middle of 30s then, or?
I was back home for maybe less than a month.
Oh, I see.
Well, they decided I was worth keeping.
Okay, so that'd be what, 32 or 33?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
What was going on the farm then? I mean, that was right into the Depression. Were things real tough then?
Oh, yeah. Well, they sure were. And the crops were bad, So.
So when did Waverly move then?
Well, he didn't move. We got married, and what do you want?
Well, maybe I don't know when your dad died.
No, I've been to look up my book and find out when he did.
Would this be through the 30s though?
Oh, yes.
So right about then, Don.
Okay, now I'm getting ahead here, so you get in there.
I'm trying to piece it together. Were you
Were
down for the funeral then? When he passed away?
No, right after. Yes, I did get there for the funeral.
And you had to come in from Cherry Hill for that funeral?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was already working in Edmonton.
Okay.
But had just started working.
Just tell us a little bit about transportation during the 30s. You mentioned going to Cherry Hill. Train to Edmonton, would it be?
No, car.
Car to Edmonton?
Yeah, Uncle Colin had a car.
Oh, and he took you right to Cherry Hill then?
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember how long it would take to get from Macquarie to Cherry Hill?
No, but I remember Mom. Come on.
Was it 1 day or 2 days? Like,
You see, all I can remember is Mom talking about the trip. She come up here to visit her folks right after they came from Ontario.
Yeah.
And, it was a hard trip for her and the 2 kids.
So that would have been by train then, would it?
Yeah.
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 All right, let's stay in the 30s. All right, so Uncle Colin came and got you. Then you had this transgression. So you'd get back to McCrory. He didn't take you back.
No, he put me on train.
Right from Cheer Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. Change of train in Edmonton, presumably.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And Saskatoon, probably, then, would it?
I suppose. I don't remember, but it must have been. How else?
Okay. And so, to get back to Cheer Hill after that 1 month, you'd take the train back, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you went back to Cherry Hill again to work for Colin. Was your grandfather still alive when you went back?
Yes.
Okay.
He was living on his farm south of there.
I see. Okay. And Colin was running the store in Cherry Hill.
Sure. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And you were there to be the nanny for the kids, and what did you do?
Looked after the kids, cooked for the whole works of them, and then canned eggs besides.
Did you get paid for that?
Are you kidding? Of course not.
So
You don't know how Scotch Uncle Colin was.
so that was in the middle of the Depression.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were lucky to have somewhere to have a job, and even though you weren't
No,
getting paid?
I'm sure that I must have felt as if I was lucky to live in Cher Hill because there was lots going on there in the entertainment way.
How do you mean?
Dances and things.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Even church service. But it was a real entertainment. Because, oh God, the minister just came out, I don't know, it wasn't anybody we knew or anything, but he came out there. And it was, praise God, hallelujah, and, the whole thing. And if anybody fell down and so on, you see, the Spirit of the Lord had entered their soul. And
So it was real holy roller.
oh, it was real deal.
So lots of singing then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever fall down?
No, I never fell down.
That's your downfall. You didn't fall down.
So why was Cherry Hill? It sounds like it was a fun place to be. Is that just a farming community, basically a farming community?
Yeah, in a small town. A
Okay.
real small town.
And they must not have been real Bible thumpers then, compared to where you came from for that kind of entertainment to be.
There was no entertainment like that. There was church and so on, but gosh, nobody got excited about it like they did
At
there.
home, yeah. So why the difference in the people? Was there a bigger mix of people?
I suppose there was, because there were a lot of foreigners, I can't tell you where
Yeah,
from.
but a mix of different
Yeah.
ethnics.
Yeah.
So by the sound of it, you didn't leave Cheer Hill to go to San Gudo because everybody.
Didn't?
Oh, I don't know.
I rode horseback to the dances there.
Okay, so how far was that then, Mom? San Gudo?
Only maybe 10 miles.
Okay.
So instead of getting paid, you went dancing.
Yeah.
So that was the
Maybe that was
compensation.
it.
Is that
So-
part of your knee problem today, Mom?
Maybe.
Too many Irish reels or something?
If you walk down the railroad to visit the Mickeys,
Yeah.
the Johnsons were up there too, you know.
No, that didn't walk on the railroad for Liz Mickey. That was, you met her.
Johnsons?
No, Margaret Millers.
Okay.
So you worked there for room and board then? That
Yeah.
was your compensation.
Yeah.
And what did you do for spending money?
I wonder if if they gave me some spending money. I think they must have. Because I sure couldn't get it from home.
I remember you saying somewhere along the line that that Uncle Colin wouldn't even give you money to go home for your dad's funeral.
That's right.
So how did you get home for that?
I borrowed it from him.
Oh, I see.
But you see, I could borrow it from him, but he wouldn't give it to me.
Okay. How did he expect to pay you back if he wasn't paying you?
I don't know.
Or is that debit still on his ledger?
I bet it's still on his ledger. I'll bet it is.
So at this point in time, or period of time, you were writing back and forth to the folks at home and that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened with the farm in Macquarie?
Well, after Pop died, Waverly took it over, full time, like. And,
Was he married then?
yes. And then Mom moved away and came to Edmonton and lived with me.
Roughly what year would that be? Before the war?
No. The war hadn't come yet for that thing. I don't know. You know, Robert?
No, I don't.
So that was before the war then? That your mom came to Edmonton and lived with you?
Yeah.
Okay. What were you doing in Edmonton? We'll get back to the farm here in a minute, but what were you doing in Edmonton at that time?
I had to, when she came, I was already taking a hairdressing course that amounted to absolutely nothing.
All right.
But you had worked for the people there,
Coopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were there a year or more.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is in the late 30s then, like 38, 39?
I suppose it would be, wouldn't it?
No, that time you gone down to the hotel at, right,
Think so?
Exo.
Okay, so the farm was still being, Waverly was still running the farm. Your mom came here, this is somewhere in the middle 30s then,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Okay, so Waverly and his wife were running the farm in Macquarie.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did they run the farm?
Until he died. No, he died of a mission.
Waverly moved to BC after we were
Well,
married.
Yeah.
But okay, and were you ever back to the farm, like in that period of time? Did you go back home at all?
To live?
Yeah, to live or visit, or
Oh, to visit, yeah, but not permanently.
I see. So, like, would you go back at Christmas time, sort of thing, or?
Oh gosh, no, you didn't track around like that. You didn't have enough money to.
No, but I mean, you got back once or twice. I mean, was there any reason for going back, or was it just to go back and visit?
Just to go back home.
I see.
So, we haven't brought Aunt Lily into this conversation. Did you lose track of Aunt Lily for quite a considerable time because of her being in the East, then you leaving home and coming to Cheer Hill? Did you have contact with Aunt Lily?
Well, then it was soon after that she got married, and she went to Queensland.
Okay. But were you there for the wedding?
Mm.
So you really didn't have much contact with Aunt Lily?
No,
During those years?
had more afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did Waverly die?
God, you think I would remember that? It was after we were
It was in the early 50s.
Early 50s runs
I
in my
remember the
mind.
phone call.
Do you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for goodness sake. Imagine.
Well, we didn't get very long distance phone calls, and I remember it being quite a. Because I mean, he was your favorite brother. I mean, you were quite upset, when
Well,
he did that. Okay, so the farm. What happened with the farm then? Was it sold?
no, they rented it out. And
They only
rented-
sold the farm in the last
more recent
10 years maybe. Quite recent, Don.
Mackenzie's had rented it all that time.
I see. Okay, so then Waverly, like, but who looked after that process there? I mean, were you still part owner of the farm? Was it part of your family, or so it had changed hands from John Armstrong to Waverly Armstrong somewhere along the line?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, I had nothing to do with what happened with it.
So you traveled around the province here a little bit then, you know, from Cherry Hill to Edmonton, where your mom came and stayed and stuff. Like when your mom came and stayed, did your mom do anything, or was she just here to visit, or like?
To maybe keep me in line, I don't know.
What, did you need keeping in line?
I don't know. Because as far as I know, she didn't do anything other than that.
Where did you live at?
107th and 102nd Street. For the railroad.
Not too far from downtown then.
No.
So that was a boarding house sort of thing, or apartment, or?
No, it was a room we rented. Just one room.
I see. Okay. And that was while you were going to school here?
Well, taking hairdressing course.
How long a course was it? 3 months or so?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And
Did you ever use that education to?
Oh, I sure used it all right.
I know you used it a lot on us.
We got haircuts free for
You got one for 50 years, I think, around here.
But did you work in a hairdressing shop?
No, because, well, I tried, but I was smart enough, for once, to realize I wasn't doing a good job. I was just turning out hair like peas in a pod. You know, they were all the same.
And you didn't want everybody to meet each other on the street afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you went from there to Eckville? Is that like you said? What did you do? You went to a hotel, or?
Yeah, down to yeah.
And what did you do there?
I became a waitress so that I could use the uniforms that I had to get.
Oh, I see.
For the hairdressing school. So.
Okay, so that was still in the 30s, or getting on later on in the 30s?
Oh, that was well on in the 30s.
So we're
Where, I don't know.
but were times still real tough then? I mean, was it
Yeah.
hard to make a living?
Yeah. Yeah, I was lucky to leave Campbell's, and I told them I was going to leave, and you know, because I wanted a better job, and so they offered to pay me $10 a month, and I said no, that wasn't enough, and so I went to Edmonton and got a job with Cooper's for $15 a month, and stayed there for quite a while.
So and you were the housekeeper.
I was the maid.
Maid.
Yeah.
And what did the Coopers do that they would hire you as a maid?
He was the editor of the journal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then you went to Eckville and worked in the hotel. How long were you down there?
Oh, quite a while. Well, in between I had been at Vulcan and someplace else south of there. And then went to
So the Vulcan you worked in, what were you doing in Vulcan?
same thing.
Okay, waitress.
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 Had to
Okay.
use the uniform.
Right. Was that a pretty good job at that time?
It was a few dollars more than maid would have been.
Uh-huh.
It was very early days. Were there any tips?
Gosh, no, I don't remember.
We can hear you snoring on tape there.
I cleared my throat, I wasn't snoring.
Oh,
I'm listening.
yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, just wondering. You don't remember whether customers left tips. I mean, it's an American thing and didn't come here, I don't believe, until later on. I was just wondering if that happened.
Well, and then, anyway, that was a small hotel and so on, so it was just guys passing through to sell something.
Yes.
So, like, did you stay in the hotel if you were waitressing in the hotel? They gave you a room and board.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like, how much would you get paid?
I think that if I remember rightly, it was the same as I would have gotten in, as a maid in a house.
So about $15 a month.
Yeah.
And how many days a week did you work?
Oh, every day.
And how many hours a day did you work?
Till everybody come home.
So you started with breakfast, and so it was what, 6 till 8 or something like that?
Yeah.
So it was 12 or 14 hours a day.
Something like that, I suppose.
Long days, Mom.
That didn't matter.
No?
Didn't matter.
As long as we were dance on Saturday night, eh?
Yeah.
And did most towns have dances Saturday night?
Yeah. Okay. If it wasn't there, it was in the next town. Very good one, are they?
So how did you get around? Like you said you were Vulcan and Eckville. Where else did you work?
It was actually
Yeah.
So how did you get from town to town? Was that trains or car or bus or?
It must have been a train. That's all I kept come up with.
And like, why did you go from one town to the other? You just got tired of one and wanted to see the other one, or?
Maybe better dances.
Oh, I see.
Then I find out that Berta told Andrea that I used to sneak out to go to dances. Well, I never knew that I sneaked out to go to dances because, my gosh, you'd walk how far for sneak to a dance back then? You'd be dead by the time you got there.
So that was your career as a waitress. What was that? Did that last 2 years or 3 years or?
Oh, that was a long time. Well, in between there, I took rheumatic fever, and I went home. And then, because they told me I'd never work again. And when I got home, I found out about this chiropractor that was at Saskatoon. And he straightened me out. And I went back to work again.
So it wasn't rheumatic fever you had then?
Yeah, but he manipulated my joints and so on, and I got back to work.
I see. Okay, so how long were you back home then that time?
I don't remember.
In like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months?
No, not that long.
Not that long. Okay. So then, just sort of back to how long you were a waitress. I mean, is 2 or 3 years about right, or is it 4 or 5 years?
3 or 4 years, I suppose, even most.
Like when the war started, were you still a waitress then?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you when the war started?
There.
Where? Echo. Okay. What do you remember about the war starting? Was it a big thing?
No. At least, if I remember right, no. It wasn't a big thing there. And
It must have been talked about in the coffee shop, conscription and this type of thing, Mom?
yeah, but not a big deal. A horrific thing.
It was just an acceptance then, I guess.
Yeah.
So, did you know many fellows that joined up?
No.
So when did you leave Eckville? And where did you go?
Oh, I guess that's where I left there to go to work at Cooper's, I think.
who was from Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, so the wars started when you were in Eckville, and so where did you go from Eckville? You come back to Edmonton? You gotta think back.
I think he's done the work enough.
You want to stop for a while?
No.
No? Okay.
I'd rather finish it. I sure kept myself busy, didn't I?
Yeah, you were moving around a bunch. Fair student. So you can't remember where you went from Eckville. Like when you went to BC somewhere along the line in the 40s, was there a space between Eckville and going to BC?
Oh, darn if I know.
No.
Well, let's get you back into Alberta then.
I never got back in.
She never left it.
Well, we're just hit a bit of a log jam. When you came to Alberta, I understand Uncle Colin, his wife was ill, and perhaps were they in Edmonton at that point? In the 40s. I understand they built this new home in the Garneau area.
Oh, did they do?
He had it
built.
He had it open in the Campbelltown before him. That's
And
when they moved from Catamount down.
and so is that where you touched base before you came to the Briggs, to Dad's farm?
Oh,
Yeah, you're working with Briggs and still sitting there for a while. Her name was Briggs, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. And then she come to the farm. And she stayed in the farm.
well, you see, I come to work for him,
Yes.
and then I stayed to work with him.
Okay.
How come you didn't want to work on the south side of the river?
I don't know. I heard that.
Is that your story?
Yeah, that's my story.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard it this one.
So that was 1946 or 45 that you came to work for Father, and so that's when all the rest you got in with all these Briggs.
Yeah.
Yep. Party line, I heard she was getting married to me when
Yeah.
listened on the phone.
That's her telling, not you.
I know.
What about the party line?
Yeah, the party line was okay, only I went to the phone on the day that I was going to be married, and there was Adamson's talking, and what was it? She said that that I had been such a good housekeeper for
Robert.
no, for who
Please.
for Grace.
Oh.
And the hope that didn't change as soon as I got him hooked. So I guess it didn't.
I guess it didn't.
So your mother, we call Nanny, she left the farm in the late 30s sometimes. I saw. Where did she spend most of her time at?
After that,
Yeah.
between Uncle Collins, she worked for him for a while. She worked for him until after Aunt Jan died.
Well, she worked for him up in Catamount, didn't she?
Well, that was
Yeah.
working for him.
So that was right up to about 1950 then, would it be, Mom? I'm putting a year on it, but...
Around then, you could say the uncle moved up to Cab, would they?
Where do you interview anymore? We're talking about.
I got the money.
You just mind your own business.
So you came to the farm in 45, and your mom would have been in the Edmonton area, perhaps at Collins. So you'd see a bit of her then,
Yeah.
as soon as you arrived. Okay. Because I remember Nanny around 2 and 3 days at a time. She'd come out to the farm as I was little.
So Ann,
Well, and then she later on, like she stayed with us for a month or two.
I thought it was under a year, wasn't it?
Tell us about the 40s. I all of a sudden had brothers and sisters come along. Tell me about the 40s. A lot of things happened. The birth of further children, right into getting water, running water and power. Must have been a hard-working time, but an exciting time.
It was. It was just wonderful.
okay, well, tell us about it. I mean, you were awful busy there for 3 or 4 years because, Jackie was there, then became John, then all of a sudden, bang, Donald, Bert, and Charles in 3 years. I mean, tell us,
Sure.
what do you talk about all this stuff?
You just worked around it, that's all there was to it. Honest to feed her. 4 children, with none in the first place, and 4 children. Boy, I was busy.
I heard you were some driver.
That was later on.
Later.
Well, it was music lessons times, Dad.
So, like, what were your impressions? Like, okay, you worked for a year or whatever as housekeeper for Dad, and then got married. I mean, like, what are your memories of that first, the first 5 years sort of thing?
It didn't even last a year.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
Tell us about the Briggs, the entering the Briggs family.
Well, they were real nice to me. They let me in.
Okay. So Christmases were quite nice times.
Oh yeah. Not the first Christmas we didn't have the Briggs, but after that.
Just a minute. Why?
Well, we went to Uncle Collins.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was in the Garneau area then, was it? Okay.
How come you don't remember that, Jackie?
Well, young.
He was too busy unwinding the toilet paper.
Oh yeah, ticker tape on Collins. He's busy with the ticker tape.
So, it was still horses' days to a large extent. Lots of labor.
Mostly cars, the old cars, but they were cars.
So you said yesterday that Grandma Briggs was one of the nicest people. Why do you say that?
Just 'cause she was. Just 'cause she was. She was so good to me. And of course that was at a time when I needed somebody good to me. And she was.
Now, was she over at our farmhouse a fair bit? Like, was it a time where they would drop in?
Yeah, I think so.
She walked across and then
She walked
he
across.
just picked him up. She walked across the field. He walked over there a few times. Not a lot.
Came over to help me with the threshers.
Okay. You came to the farm in 45. Were Bowie's our next door neighbors in 45?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember Mrs. Bowie's being very nice. Tell us about the Bowies.
Oh, she was a real neighbor. And all was well with her. Well, what could I tell you about the Bowies? I don't even know what
Get extra vegetables, she would run them over to the big gardener. She'd do anything.
Tell us, we see much of their children. Did you see much of their children?
Oh, sure. Dell babysat you guys and this sort of thing.
Why would we have to get babysat?
Because you were younger.
Where were you?
I went to dances.
Did you take Father with you?
No. Tell us about the dances. Would this be at the East Edmonton Hall?
I mostly dance. Yeah.
Okay.
He worked for us one summer.
So where was Aunt Lily at this point in time? Were they were,
She was married and had gone to Bloomfield.
okay, that was in the 40s, but in the 50s, were they still in Flin Flon there, or were they in,
No.
like when you married Father, where was Aunt Lily at?
Where was she?
Berkeley.
No, she wasn't there yet then.
So that was in BC.
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
But I would have thought that she wasn't there yet.
okay. Like, Nanny was, visiting sort of back and forth, and I remember Nanny at the house, like, she spent time with Aunt Lily out on the coast. Okay. And, like, when did Aunt Lily move to, I remember going to Richmond, or Burnaby, I guess it was. Like, when did they move to?
Well, that was just she and Waverly did. Yeah, they had left Robert then for her husband.
I see. Okay. All right.
Did you meet him?
Mm-hmm.
At what point would you have met this Robert? On their way through to the coast, or one time when you were back at the farm, or?
It would have been in Saskatoon.
Okay.
Why?
Is that where they got married at?
Yeah. And then they went to
Yeah. So was that a big wedding, or
no.
no?
Was he? Wave is quite a big man. Was he a big?
Yeah. He's a good sized guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not huge, but he was a big guy.
So what did they do in Flin Flon?
He was working in what?
I don't think Flin Flon was the mines.
Mines.
That's all it was there. Imagine.
He was in steam.
So
Whether he had his papers or not, he was in
I
steam.
see.
So whether he did that in Flin Flon, I don't know, but he did that in Saskatoon. Did you find him a jovial fellow, or just
Just an ordinary guy.
an ordinary guy? Okay. Tell us then.
Nobody liked him.
Nobody liked them.
Oh, did you like him on your meeting?
Well, I never even thought anything about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue with the 1950. I think that's when water came into our home. 50 or 51. 49, I don't know just when. I remember you always saying that was the greatest day in your life. You'd take running water over power. Tell us about getting it in.
This one day more productive than I can. No, you can tell him that.
Well, no, just being able to turn on the tap that you hadn't been able to turn on for 5 years.
I should say.
You've been without running water for 5 years, or in that range, and all these kids around with dirty unmentionables. Did you get a new washing machine at that time?
Didn't get a new one.
No, we had one. We hooked it up to the lister, and it had just the 30 volt. But it seemed to move over that.
Okay, on to the power. I remember the huge refrigerator freezer coming in the door,
I bet you do.
taking the doors apart.
Yeah, take it through.
Mom, the kitchen must have taken a big transition at that point.
Well, it was after that we got the cupboards built, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to help us, you know.
Yeah, he said yeah.
We had a small fridge the first year. Montbridge.
Okay.
Second hand,
Tell us about canning.
Gosh, it makes me tired even to think of.
Well, it makes me tired taking the bottles down the stairs to the shelves.
That was nothing, that was done.
I know it was on the done side, but that was my job.
canned chicken, canned beef, canned food.
Everything. Oh, boy. And all you children around? Gosh, it's a good job you were good kids. That's for sure.
Well, otherwise we'd be scalded.
We didn't have any choice.
Yeah, that's right.
Talk about the people that had come in to help that stayed in your lives all along. John Bellick, Beatrice, those kind of people. Tell us about how they came along.
Well, we asked for welfare board, and that was when we got John. But Beatrice was, I needed help, and I don't know how we got her. We got her.
Let's talk about John for a moment. You asked for a welfare boy. For what purpose? To help around the farm with odd chores? I know he went to high school.
Yeah.
So what were the responsibilities for John to enter the home? Did he have to do some chores in lieu of board and room?
I think so. There must have been.
They paid us $15 a month, and and they supplied his clothes first year. And he went to school and helped out for Milky, and I guess he milked him 1 or 4 weeks.
Maybe we could get father and mom sitting together here now.
Okay.
I suggested we went over town where she lived, and
I can remember Beatrice adding a fair amount of spunk to the house.
Oh,
So,
she worked hard.
yes,
Sure.
but happy times too,
Yeah.
you know.
she come out when Donald was big enough to walk around.
Okay. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you want me to give the beat? We were told about beat. Went over town to visit her folks for her, and so they brought her out the next evening, I think. And so she worked there all summer, and you were being taken care of by her a lot because you got in the pipeline. They just walked down there 100 yards or so, and they brought her back.
I went down to Bowie's.
No, you went down
You went the other way. You were heading for the high country. Anyway, and so she took care of us. So it let us go around, go in, get groceries and so on. I'll have my kids trotting around. And then the next school started while she went back in town to school, and she'd come on weekends usually. Friday evening most time, and so she was out 2 days, and we either took her back or her folks picked her up, one or two.
would she be a 16-year-old girl at about this time?
She wasn't 16 until he was. How old were you when you were?
15, 14, 15.
His birthday the same time, remember? Skating and so on.
No, I can't.
There was a party, and the older girls knew skidded down on the creek and flowed over Roseville on her birthday. And so she was there then, that time. And she was there just about every weekend all winter because she didn't want to get out.
I remember that you people supplied good times for our cousins. Now, is this part of the skating party and so on and so forth? But Earl and
People, yeah.
Joy and so on would participate?
Yeah.
Arnold and Tommy Bratton.
Okay. Now, they were in their later teens at that point, I'm assuming.
Early teens.
No, they were driving at that time. Because I remember that when they'd come over, I mean, they drove over. I mean, not said didn't mean they were 16, but they were 17 and 18, I think, weren't they?
I would say maybe 17.
Getting out of the high school anyway, or into high school.
So was our home a center of activity more so than Aunt Mary and Uncle Ralph's?
Oh, they never had any kids.
Because the one Sunday there was a picture of, 5 horses in the yard, the rears were down, and Joey and Arnold were over, and I think,
Stuff on the wall.
you were pretty small, but you were out there with them anyway, and not on a horse. So, I mean, they kind of,
So why would that sort of thing happen in our yard when we were so young? Is it because you just did these things?
I guess so. And we always had the family dinners, you know, the extra ones at Father's birthday, we always had them over, and things like that. That was cooperative thing.
So why did it happen at the R.A.W. Briggs instead of the Ralph or the George Briggses?
We don't know.
Mary and Ralph had a bit more staid, and they did. And there wasn't enough getting around.
I don't.
And Joey and Ethel they had people coming there, yes.
Well, I remember those early years as Christmas always being in Grandma and Grandpa's house, New Year's up at Uncle George's. In most cases.
Yeah.
Uncle Ralph was rare. Rarely we would go there.
So I can remember one, and I don't know how I remember that, but one year we were over when Grandma and Grandpa were still alive at Christmas. That'd have to be 51 or 52, I guess.
It'd be 50 more likely, for sure.
Was that because you went over with the horses there in the sleigh?
I remember the sleigh, and I remember Grandpa and the cats, and
And the pipe?
always the pipe, yeah. Always smell the pipe. Yeah.
Well, I'll finish up with John Bellick. Read you some more of him, because the next year we had a young German couple come out to work, and they weren't very cooperative with that sort of thing, so he wouldn't stay. So I turned around and said to John. John was there that summer too, and I said, "Well, will you work for us this summer?" And so he did. He worked there, and you might say from then on he worked for 2 summers, I imagine. He helped out with the haying and everything else, and then he got rid of high school, and he worked for Clem for just a little bit, and then he had a chance to join up with the Armed Forces, and then on he came back to visit when he happened to be here, and correspondence was regular, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I remember regularly letters would come from anywhere in the world.
Right, yeah.
And quite an exciting time.
So that was that, and then on we had the odd hired men coming in, every month at a time.
Yeah, well, I remember we had several hired men. I mean, there was some stories to be told there.
Well, I think probably one of the probably met the one I liked the most was the Bert, and he was there all winter, and that's the year Arnold got married, and then he left the spring to go run sheep in the south, but then we went down to visit him when we traveled down into Montana. We stopped, saw him, and I did see him later at the spring show. He come and got me, took me to his house. He got married. And then he went up to BC and lost track of him completely.
Well, I remember some other ones there too, but we'll talk about those now. Mom, you got to, oh, sorry.
Shall we just put this picture in the film? This is the picture of the farmyard, and a view from out of the corral towards the home, the old pump house, and that was a real old pump house where the electrical system was prior to getting power. The milk house that Don and I know about is in here, along with the upper garage, living accommodations up above, and the view onto the house.
In 74.
That one is 1974. Okay.
This one that Collins got here is a little bit earlier.
And they are just living here in Shepherd Park now.
These are aerial photographs taken from the west, looking east right into the farmyard and all the outbuildings.
You can't see this one too good on the film, but there's the house, the chicken house, the shed, the little pump house, the garage, the barn.
See the cattle coming over the hill?
Yeah, cattle. There's father driving in the driveway with
Another load of rails.
load of rails
That's for the shed at the back.
for the shed that was being built out back here.
And that was the first snow in the fall. You can see it on the photos.
Okay, Mom, you were involved in the community quite a bit with in various organizations and that sort of thing. Sort of tell us what you did with the school thing, the 4-H. You belonged to the Consumers Association or whatever. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the community.
I never thought I was.
Well, we were on the hall board, looked after us, helped some of the list drives,
Yeah,
and
forgot.
Okay, how about 4-H?
no,
I mean, you did a fair bit in the 4-H clubs.
Did I?
yeah,
Yeah,
we
you did.
the guys were over at the Elders and Closing Club, and some with the Garden Club. And then you're really mixed up when they had the jamboree and cut all the cake up.
Oh yeah, they cut all the cake and
Oh, come on, anyway.
So what, I mean, I remember that sort of once a year you go down to Old or something like that. What association was that you belonged to? Wasn't that Consumers or something like that?
The Home Economist
arranged
Oh, I see. Okay.
3 or 4 people were there. You went to Vermilion and you went to Old.
Old, yeah.
She had a break.
Yeah.
I'd like to refer to 1952. You people purchased a new car, and it was a big year for us, and we took that new car on the trip to see your original farm, Mum, in Saskatchewan. And I was of the age where I could enjoy it. I know that you got busy and set up extra seating in the back seat so we all could sit up higher and see out the windows.
So we could fight in style.
The two little kids played on the back platform underneath the window.
Tell us about this trip to Saskatchewan and seeing the home site again.
It was really outstanding, but to pick out something particular about it.
I remember it being so, you were thrilled to show us the homestead and the big hill down to the lake, and it was a nice time.
You went down to the lake, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting when we went to Miss Fry.
Oh yeah, do you remember that?
Yes.
When she went downstairs to get us the rhubarb drink.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
She went down that hole.
Yeah. And probably that evening when we left, we went and camped out in the mosquito field.
No. That was going south to Montana.
No.
No, not it. This is Saskatchewan mosquitoes.
That was around Lloydminster
They
or
were
somewhere
big,
in that part of the country.
Large, and hungry.
We're sleeping out there. Uh-huh.
Where do we go from here?
Well, we went on 2 trips, one in Montana, and then we went up to Peace River the first time I'd been up there, and they went too.
I think when we went to Peace River, John, I think that's when you stayed home and looked after the farm,
He
wasn't it?
looked after the farm and
Yeah.
just got the new little blue
Blue
Ranger.
Yeah.
And then we took all of you know, when we went to Lily's?
No.
You weren't.
No. I had. when I was 10, I went out to Lily's
Yeah,
with
you've gone on
Waverly
your own.
and Bev, and you people went out there.
But you must have been home on the farm when we went out there. Yeah, must have been, you must
I
have.
thought you were along with us when we went out to BC,
No.
Vancouver.
No, you and Charles went fishing with Waverly and thought.
Yeah, that's why I thought the John was along. I thought the three of us were out there. Okay, all
There
right.
wasn't been room.
Well, I know that we went fishing and we caught a salmon or whatever.
There wasn't been room. We had car top. They got a hold of to put the baggage on.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And you and Charles were.
Yeah, all right.
And,
Okay, well, maybe it's time we take a break. I gotta hit the road here. Just hang on a sec. I mean, I'm gonna be leaving here now, and John and Colin will finish this off in the 60s. I just want to say that as far as the D.R. Briggs and family is concerned, we're certainly proud and happy to have you guys as parents, as grandparents, and I really appreciate everything you did for us.